This is the noon news from Montana's news leader.
Good afternoon, and thanks so much for joining us today. I'm Aja Goare. Our top story this afternoon, investigators are collecting evidence from a home in Great Falls where an officer shot and killed a burglary suspect late last night. Officers responded to a home at the intersection of 9th Avenue North and 31st Street just after 11 p.m. for a reported burglary. They found the suspect trying to break into the home. The suspect then took off, leading police on a foot chase. Police say the suspect pulled out a gun, leading the officer to open fire, killing the suspect. The name of the deceased has not been released. No officers were injured. The name of the officer who fired the deadly shots has not been released. The Division of Criminal Investigation of the Montana Department of Justice is leading the investigation. Well, some good news for Seeley Lake residents living near the Rice Ridge fire as mandatory evacuations are lifted today. The Missoula County Sheriff's Office is downgrading Zone 5 in Seeley Lake to an evacuation warning. This last zone is the area north of the airport in Powell County and affects approximately 6 homes. All of Seeley Lake is still under an evacuation warning, while evacuation orders and warnings remain in effect in Powell County. The Rice Ridge fire is nearly 140,000 acres with 33% containment. And near the Lolo Peak fire, evacuation warnings are being lifted today for residents along Highway 12 between Bear Creek and Graves Creek. This affects 13 homes and is the last of the evacuation warnings on Highway 12. As wildfires consume well over 1 million acres across our state, the Montana Television Network wants to help. We've partnered with the Montana Community Foundation to create the Montana Wildfire Relief Fund. For nearly 30 years, the MCF has worked to strengthen communities through charitable giving. MTN and parent company Cordillera Communications will match the first $50,000 donated to the fund. In other weather news, Florida officials estimate 25% of homes in the Florida Keys are destroyed. At least 10 deaths in several states are blamed on Tropical Depression Irma. CBS's Mola Lange has the details.
A man walked through a flooded street in the Riverside section of Jacksonville, Florida Tuesday morning. Irma caused some of Jacksonville's worst flooding in more than 150 years. The storm surge led to more than 300 rescues Monday.
If this wasn't my job, I would have left this city days ago. I wouldn't have been here for this storm.
Officials say it could take days before all the water recedes. Vince Corn is cleaning up after floodwaters reached his front porch.
We got about 10 inches away from going in the house. But the weird thing is we took the grates off of the air intake, and you can see water in the air ducts.
Waters reached nearly 4 feet in this Jacksonville neighborhood, but as you can see, they're receding and are now less than a foot. Irma also caused massive flooding in Charleston, South Carolina Monday. The storm knocked out power to more than 7 million customers in several states. In Florida, about 2/3 of the state began the day with no electricity. In the Florida Keys, officials are now seeing the scope of the damage where Irma barreled in as a Category 4 hurricane.
We're still having in the Keys issues with getting the water started back up, sewage, and their power back up.
In the lower Keys, homes are reduced to piles of debris, but evacuated residents who live in the less damaged upper Keys were allowed to return home this morning. Mola Lange, CBS News, Jacksonville, Florida.
The remnants of Irma are blowing through Alabama and Mississippi today. Several animals died in a house fire in Missoula that caused $95,000 in damage. Fire crews responded to the home on the 2300 block of Gilbert Avenue in the lower Rattlesnake area just after 6 last night. The fire was quickly knocked out. However, 4 dogs were killed. No other injuries were reported. The cause of the fire is unknown. A fatal crash north of Billings claimed the life of an elderly Montana man this morning. The crash happened around 6:45 a.m. along U.S. Highway 87 between Billings and Roundup. Montana Highway Patrol reports the man was southbound in a van when he drifted off the right side of the road. He overcorrected and drove off the left side of the road, causing the van to roll. The victim, whose name was not released, died at the scene. No one else was involved in the crash. A woman survived a grizzly bear attack in Paradise Valley thanks to quick action by her companions and bear spray. Montana Fish, Wildlife and Parks says the incident happened Saturday on a private ranch in the Tom Minor area north of Gardner. The woman and her 2 companions were near a cow carcass. When the bear made contact, the victim laid on her stomach to protect her vital organs. She was bitten on her legs and back. Her companions used bear spray to stop the attack. Before we get to break, proposed budget cuts to medical services for Montana's poor and disabled blocked by a panel of state lawmakers. The Bullock administration proposed the more than $20 million in cuts after state tax revenue fell short of targets in July. The Children, Families, Health and Human Services Interim Committee objected to the cuts, saying they don't follow the intent of the legislature. Monday's vote stopped the cuts from taking effect at least through November. Mental health advocates testified at that hearing. The cuts will devastate case management, which guides the mentally ill through vital services. Still to come on the noon news, a Boy Scout dies of heat stroke and his family sues the organization for negligence. We'll tell you why. But first, Ed has our weather forecast. Stay with us.
You're watching